drums are going crazy. The melody is still going. The harmony's going up. The bass line's going up. The trick never gets old. The trick never gets old. Okay. Hey, I'm back. How are you doing? How's it going? How are the kids? So ignore all the clutter back here. I just got back from college, but I figured I would do a quick breakdown of the track that I made at the end of the Undertale series. If you caught that, it's a very long-ass episode, but if you got to the end of it, there's a little musical number there that I made, and I'd like to share that with you. I can open up the project file here and break it down for you. Also, for those who are not very musically inclined per se, or don't know a lot about digital audio workstations or mixing or mastering or that whole world, don't worry. This may be entertaining still. I hope it still is. I hope you can find some form of value in this, because I had a lot of fun making it. But let's go. Let's jump in. All right, so this is the project file for the thing. It's a bigger one. It's not that big though, it's only 52 tracks. I knew for a fact that I wanted this melody because I just fell in love with it when I was playing the game. And I noticed really quickly, so this is it's just a Labs preset, a Peel Guitar 1, and this is also a Peel Guitar 1, so this one is playing the low note. Let us pan slightly to the right, and this one's playing the melody. Let's pan to the left. I noticed that was a choice that Tobster did when I was playing the game, so I figured I would do the same thing because it gives this really nice space. And this is playing over an ambient just kind of forest landscape, because I thought that was a really good space to kind of put this in, and it sounds really nice, together. It sounds really in a moment, and really just, you're in a field and you're looking at a sunset, and it's just cresting over, and you're just really reflecting on life. Oh, also, I completely forgot to mention the big thing right here. So all this automation, I don't know if I'm gonna have to, if I can explain it, but it's basically it goes from having everything being mono to everything being wide. There are effects that are being applied. There's so much here. I can't explain all of it in terms of automation, but the intro, it sounds like this. Which drops really nice into that melody right there, which is just the moment. I do that so often. I can't keep track of how often I do that when I make music, is I make something grow really big, really wide, really amazing, and then it drops into a moment. I think that's so cool. It just, the cut from it being so huge to the thing being so quiet, and just so, not quiet, but so just close. I think I love when music does that. It's so cool in my opinion. But there are a few things happening. Firstly, there's effects playing down here, which is this kind of underground hit, which is not something I made. I just sampled from a cymatics pack. You have this thing, which are just reverse cymbals and an uplifter. And you also have this tonal ambience, which at first is wide and there's a lot of reverb to it, but it slowly but surely fades out. I believe it doesn't have any reverb, and the reverb comes in later, but the volume's going down, so that's an interesting way to look at that. Oh, okay, so what this is, it is the Labs Choir pack, which I love. It's this thing, or no, it's Strings Long. I fucking lied. But it's playing this, which is a really beautiful chord that I thought would be really nice. Underneath this melody right here, which is the same thing here, just sounds just way in the background, quiet, and it's slowly but surely coming to the forefront. Thank you, choir thingy and vocals and stuff. I appreciate you. But also, I wanted to include some bass here too, just to like give it a little bit of an impact when like, oh shit, something's coming. Like, you know, you hear this, right? And you're like, interesting. But then it's so subtle. It's like, boom. It's this thing. But it gives a slight impact to the. But then we get here, and it's so nice. But this is the I believe it's Asriel's motif that I loved. It was sprinkled throughout the entirety of the game, and it has the main theme and writing behind it. It was the first thing I made. See, it's at the top of the pattern, and oh, it's so nice. I love everything about it. It's so nice. And then you also have this thing that comes in, which are. It's the strings again. They're playing a little bit of a progression here. And then add a little bit of that. Oh, two things come in here too. I'll come back to that. But yeah, I thought that was really beautiful. And I kept it. Yeah, it's strings and there's a few things happening. They kind of like, though. It's a weird way to describe it, but that's kind of what's going on here. There's the stereo separation, which is making them really mono to really wide, and then there is the reverb that's like slightly off to all the way on to, and then there's the volume, which is down to up. So there's multiple like automation here that's like emphasizing the strings kind of like swelling motion that happens within the BPM. And then there's this melody that I added because I just kept hearing it during the harmonies, and I was like, I need to add it, I need to manifest it, so I did. It sounds like this. And it's also very much like in the it's also very much in the Undertale sound palette, because the thing is, it's very often like 8-bit kind of NES 80s video game era sound palette a lot of the time, and I think like those are like often very nostalgic for a lot of people, and I use it sometimes in tracks as well, just to bring that if it's appropriate in the writing. But like it's nothing special. It's a serum, and I just put Reese on it, and there's no effects, and it's just that. And you also have this thing, which I thought was cool. I kept hearing it as well. Also, I wanted to add a little bit of an ARP, so I did this. And it's panning from left to right. And you can kind of hear it in this mood so far. But just barely. I thought it sounded really nice, so I kept it. And then I added the good old I forgot what the track's called, but that motif, this thing. You know, when you start the game. And I thought it worked really well too. And I mean, he does that in one of my favorite tracks, which was Undertale. That is my favorite track, I think, in the game. Yeah, that's my favorite track. This is one of my favorite wavetables in like the stock Siren wavetable, which is Prime. I use it constantly. I can't go away from it. I don't know why. And there's a little bit of effects on here, some reverb, some compression, and this thing. I don't know what it is, hyperdimension, and I use it a shit ton. Maybe I should actually learn what it does a lot of the time, but I've just kind of I've fucked around with the knobs that I know kind of what it sounds like, and that's kind of all you need to know when it comes to synthesis. So yeah, that's what I did. After that, once you get over here, just add a little bit of a bass here, which is the same as last time. It is a bass guitar warm, so it's kind of like plucking, so when it hits, it sounds nice. Thought I'd add a little bit of that. So there's a lot of things going on right here, baby. Firstly, we got these strings that I think sound pretty cool. And those loop. And you also have these impacts that happen often with this one. The main one happening every like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 8 bars. And then the bass is also kind of like picking up this kind of like marching tempo. And it's like so. And then the harmonies have widened, I believe. Or no, they've moved away from the first passage and they're no longer looping there, and they're looping right here. And they sound really thin because they're in the thin zone. If I were to move them over here, they'd sound wider. And then also the melody is also, it's the bass line is also following the bass pattern. So like if I go to pattern 77, it's following like the bass pattern that everything else is following. And also I added the piano to the Also, if you listen to the track Undertale, there's so much variety in this melody. Like, the thing goes through so many different instances of that melody throughout the entirety of the track that it is just somewhat like hard to transfer it over composing wise. But then there's also these drums right here. And the toms stick out a little bit because I've, mixing wise, I've isolated them, and yeah, but it's this animal kit, and I believe this one is also animal kit. I could be wrong. It's also animal kit, where it's animals in here. But yeah, that continues on, and also the variance right in this other area is this melody, I've also noticed something in the music theory. The music theory is like, you can tell that Tobster, he understands a few things about music, but you can tell when he's making it, he's like making it through the perspective of like a game designer. But he really believed in himself and he pulled through, but like, I'm wondering like if he was actually classically trained or not, because like, I feel like he looked at music as more of like, more of a mathematical, coder way, because like all the decisions that he is making when it comes to writing melodies or writing chords are so like calculated, and they're very much like put into certain sections in like a very lifelike like designer kind of cut and paste and change up the sound way that like it works, and I love it and it's great, but it's like very different from like how someone would typically write music. So I found that pretty great. But then also, as you listen to this for a little bit, it drops into this big frickin' which the bass line changes up as well. But yeah, so big ol' slap 'em kicks right here, followed by a dubstep hit right here, just because I thought that gave a good transient, but like the is actually this, which is more of like an actual snare that has a lot of effects on it that widens the thing. But I thought like it'd be like with this, it's very subtle, but it gives a little bit more of a tightness to the snare, because without it, it sounds like this. Like it sounds there, but it's not like grounded enough, and this is, it just manifests it a bit more, so I kept it. And yeah, nothing much is happening, it's just the bass line has changed. And then also this melody comes in right here. And there's a lot of new sounds that are introduced here, but firstly it's just piano. Which is nice. And then you also have this thing right here, which is the modular panner 8 08 Chiff piano from the Labs preset. There's labs throughout the entirety of this, man. Also, there's this thing, which I believe is the same thing, just mixed a bit different. But the, yeah, like this is also how he writes chords. The chords are so interestingly wacky, but they work. They work. They're just so wacky. It's so interesting. And the pad here also works too. It provides a bit more width to the entire thing, I guess. And I threw on the textural pads phone. I love the textural pads like pack that this comes with. It's great. But then after that, you also got this thing that kind of accentuates the harmony. Oh, I completely also forgot to mention that the bass over here. So this is the piano bass, which is very bass heavy, and then you got strings bass, which also occupies a different texture of the bass frequency that just makes it sound a bit more full. And then you also got the sub bass, which is deep down there. It's in the subs, but you're probably going to need headphones to hear that. But regardless, you get to this part. But yeah, so this part right here, there's a couple new layers happening. This thing is happening, which is gigantic and is inside side chain, so you can't really hear it all that well. But yeah, so I added a shit ton of harmonies to the main progression, so it sounds like this. Why is it so quiet?
What is happening?
But I thought that was a really nice, huge, like emotional progression. I wanted this thing to kind of come to a climax, so I knew I needed to add more harmonies to beef it up. And then on top of that, you also have the pad that gives more of this almost 80s like cheesy synth sound. But I thought it sounded cool, like within the mix. That is doing the same progression as the strings. And then also this thing is also the and that's kind of it for this section. It's kind of repeating the main variety that's giving this thing like spice and melody is this thing. That's one thing I noticed in the actual track is that he takes a lot of delay. Like there is a shit ton of delay on that thing, which is, it's nice. It sounds real nice. But yeah, and then the drums go crazy too. Yeah, the drums go crazy. And then more hype is this drum mix that's like slowly but surely going up, going to the top of the mountain. Like in with the main groove going like so. With that going in the background, there's like so much like drum craziness going on that's like leading up all the way to this climax right here. I've done that before in a track called Over the Hills and Under the Mountains, which is on my album Portal, which is on Spotify. I may leave a link in the description if you would like to listen to that. The piano takes over the main melody. in this particular section. And also I wanted there to be that one part in the track, because I thought it would be a great kind of like section to kind of put in here before the ultimate just freaking climax comes in with just the... You know, with all that. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of bring it to this little section right here where the piano kind of... The bass line in particular has some fun.
The drums are going crazy. The melody is still going. The harmony's going up. The bass line's going up. Holy shit! Ah!
The trick never gets old. The trick never gets old. You just keep doing it, kids. It's so good. It works every time. It is the make something gigantic, huge, and big, and then bring it down into a moment. And it's just doing the same melody, and it's doing this, which I brought in a few things here. I used to do it on that, which is the Labs music box thing, but I thought this sounded better. It's a one-shot, and I threw it in there, and I thought it sounded very sparkly, very magical, so I thought I'd do that. And I threw it in there, and there's the forest thing again. We're back in the forest. We're hearing birds in the background slightly. And the sun is now blue. I thought it'd be nice to just hear the ambience a little bit at the end there. And then it ends.
And the track is over.
I could have really gone into depth in terms of like all the mixing that I did. There is so much mixing going down, and I do use this compressor a shit ton throughout the entirety of it. And if you're really into mixing, then maybe I can do another like tutorial on how to mix, but I just wanted to do a quick surface level kind of like explanation on what I did for the track. And that is what I did, gang. I really hope you enjoyed the track, by the way. Like, I had a lot of fun making it. I knew when I made the game, I was like, okay, I need to like make music now, because like the music in this game is so different. You can tell for a fact that like old Tobster definitely just kind of like, I don't know if he's a classically trained pianist or like a jazz trained pianist or at all. He seems to be very self-taught, and I can tell because like the language in which he creates melodies and he creates chords is very much just like, this sounds good. And honestly, you want me to tell you a secret? That's how you make good music. That is. You know what the advantage of being classically trained or jazz trained does to you? It just tells you more options for what you could do. Your perspective doesn't change. It maybe changes a little bit because you get to know the piano and scales and shit, but like you can look that up online as well. So I found it really heartwarming and real and cool that like through the music that was made in this game, you could tell that Tobster was really trying his absolute darndest to make music based off like different, you can tell he looked up scales, you can tell he had a sound in mind, and you can tell he was like trying to learn how to do it, and once he learned how to do it, he just ran with it. And that's something I do too. I love the language in which the music speaks in this game. It's silly and then it's serious, but it's still within the realm of like Undertale. But yeah, I wanted to make a track because I wanted to do kind of my own rendition of that one melody being that main motif. And I kind of bumped this out, and I don't know how long this took me to make. How long did this take me to make? Let's see. Total time spent. I spent 9 hours and 35 minutes on it. So I cranked this bad boy out in 9 hours. You can tell the master volume is right here, and that's a common trick that I do. Is usually the master is like at its usual volume, and I listen to it like kind of loudly, and then I bring it down just for dynamic purposes, export it, and then master it, because with mastering you want a little bit of headroom. But that's mixing shit. You don't need to know that, or maybe I'll talk about that later down the line. But what you're listening to right now is the unmastered version. Often when I make a track in a project file, I never master it in the same project file just for CPU purposes. But regardless, I hope you enjoyed watching this. I certainly enjoyed making this and explaining it. So yeah, also I hope to be making a bit more videos here, because I got summer. Summer has come. I'm back from college, and I hope to be making more stuff when I get the time to. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the breakdown. I hope you learned something from this, regardless if you know music or digital audio workstations or not. I hope this was a little bit entertaining, just me kind of trying to open the curtain and give you a peek behind for a little bit, or however the hell I just said that. But yeah, this has been Undertale track breakdown by me. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.